Okay. So, story time. So I remember a while ago, I was on I won't mention which program, but I was on a program of NYU where a bunch of us college students were volunteering in one of these many different educational things we can do for high school kids. Or there's a bunch of different programs going on at NYU. We'll leave which one out. And maybe it's just because I'm sometimes overly sensitive to these things, sometimes a little bit cynical. But throughout this the program, like a lot of the other guys kept talking about why they were doing this, and it was never, for some reason, and I don't think they weren't altruistic, but instead of saying like they were there because they could help educate people, they could help inspire people, there was a lot of talk about how good it feels to help others, right? How wonderful it feels to help others, and they're there because they wanted to feel fulfilled, right? Again, maybe just the cynic in me, and that's just their way of saying like I want to help people, and it also makes me feel good. But sometimes that type of focus on I'm helping others because it makes me feel good, which is good. I don't think that's bad, right? If we're all Maimonidean virtue ethicists here, like we all want that to be the end goal, right? That if you help people enough, that like you become a nice person. Like that's a good thing. This is not like a bad thing. It's not like I don't want people to be nice. The only thing is that when you focus entirely on helping other people because it makes you feel good, the problem is that sometimes you end up helping them in the ways that make you feel good, right? Meaning in the ways that make you feel like you're helping the most rather than the ways that you actually are. So at some point we had they had arranged a staff sevev, where they went around and, one of these questions that I don't usually like, but it was like, who is your favorite person in Tanakh and why? And to sort of make my point, I had said...
Moshe Rabbeinu.
So this is where this conversation went. So I wanted to make my point in the most, with the example that would sort of drive it in the most, even if it wasn't the best in Tanakh, but maybe the one that would surprise people the most. So I picked Dvorah because, right, I wanted to focus on one particular scene where Dvorah had, Barak. She told Barak, "I want you to go into war and save the Jews." And Barak said, "Only if you come with me." And what did Dvorah say?
Fine, but because of that.
Right, fine. But because you want me to come and you're not willing to do this yourself, right, you're not going to get the glory. Right? And I noted that scene is insightful in Tanakh's view of leadership, which is that not only are you in it to help other people, but you're really trying to empower other people to the point where you're okay, and maybe even would get upset if you become the crutch. Now, I also did it a little bit because there were certain people who, by virtue of me picking a female character, got, shocked. So, I wasn't being totally fair by picking that. But afterwards, Itamar Rosenzweig said to me, he's like, really, if I wanted to be honest about the character that I was picking, right, the character I would have picked is Moshe from this week's Parsha. Because Moshe, that brings us back to Baloscha, but this wasn't just a Sam story, right? Baloscha, you find that Moshe is overwhelmed. And he says to Hashem, look, I can't do this by myself. Appoint other people. So Hashem says, sure, right? I'll take from your spirit. I'll share it with the Skenim, and that'll be great. And those Skenim are supposed to prophesy, kanireh, in the presence of Moshe, which is true for most of them. But then there are two that go and they prophesy in the camp, namely Eldad and Meidad. And then you get this incredible moment that Rav Hirsch picks up on as the moment that all educators should learn from. Right? So they start prophesying, and Yoshua, or the Nar, whoever exactly it is, comes to Moshe and says,
look at these blasphemous people.
Right? Adoni Moshe Klaim.
Imprison them.
Right? Imprison them. And what does Moshe say? Right, so he says even more than that. What does he say?
He says all Bnei Israel could get the rule of God granted them.
Yeah, he says halevai, right? Not just they could. He's like halevai that should happen. And he says, right? He says, "Vayomer lo Moshe hamekaneat ali umi yitin kol am Adonai neviim ki yitin Adonai et rucho aleihem." Right? I wish that God would give spirit onto to all the Jewish people. Are you trying to be zealous for me? Right? You think I care? Right? And Rav Hirsch notes that, right, what Moshe is doing, and that's why he says, all educators should keep this in mind, is, right, he's willing to, right, the goal of an educator isn't for people to be dependent on them forever. Right? A good educator actually cares that other people eventually come into their own, and if that means that they don't need them anymore, then that means they don't need them anymore. That's a success, not a failure. Right? And if you read the pasuk carefully, it's actually even more than that. Because what did Hashem say to Moshe? Hashem said, how am I going to help you?
Give the other guys with your ruach.
With your ruach. Right? He says to them, right, this is pasuk Yud Zayin. V'yarati v'dibarti im chasham v'atzalti min haruach asher alecha v'samti aleihem. Hashem says, fine, I'll give them some of your spirit. Right? Meaning Hashem says to Moshe, look, I'm willing to help you. And the way I'll help you is by giving you people who are clearly subordinate to you, that even the spirit of God they get is just a derivative of your spirit. Right? But now, why does Yeshua seem to get angry? Right? Because they are doing it in the camp. They're not doing where Moshe is, which means that they are trying to be independent leaders. And what does Moshe say to Yeshua?
Hooray.
Yeah, but how does he say hooray? Right? Again, the pasuk I just read is Umi yitin kol am Adonai neviim ki yitin Adonai et rucho aleihem. Right? Halevai. Meaning, not only do I not care that there are other people who can be leaders, I don't care if God gives them an unmediated relationship with Him. Right? I don't need, right, sure Hashem said, look, I'll give you helpers and they will be your subordinates. But I don't care. Let everybody be my equal. Let everybody get direct contact with God. I just don't care. Right? I'm not in this for myself. Right? And in a beautiful take, right, the Gemara and several of the Midrashim, right, they all sort of build this. There's different data of what exactly happened here. But they actually put a very specific nevuah in their mouths, which is, what is the nevuah? Right, there are different Midrashim, but at least one of them is, I think this is the one that Rashi quotes, but I don't remember the one Rashi quotes. I think it is, though. Right, that they are mitnabeh, Moshe mate.
That Yeshua
right,
take over.
Right, Moshe is going to die and Yeshua is going to take them to the land. Right, which means that what happened?
Yeshua got anointed for that.
Right. Well, actually, let's hold that. That's part of the Midrash. And there's another part of the Midrash, which is how did Eldad and Meidad get to the camp?
How did they get to the camp?
Right. Well, how did they end up in the camp? Right? Aren't they supposed to be with Moshe? What does the Midrash say?
They refused to come to the...
Why?
Well, I saw to shut them. Either they thought they were too great and they didn't want to be part of the raffle.
Okay,
they were
right.
so humble and they didn't think they deserved it.
Good. So that's the part of the Midrash that's part of this Midrash, right? Which is that there are 72, right? If you're going to have 6 shoftim from every... 6 skenim from every shevet, you're going to be 2 over, right? So Moshe makes a lottery, and he says, right, I'll put in 70 things that say zakein and 2 that say not, and that's how we'll figure out who gets the short end of the stick. And Eldad and Meidad are convinced that they're not going to be them, so they just leave, and they don't want to. So what happens instead? Because of their humility, because they don't want to take away leadership from other people, right? What happens?
You get nevuah outside.
They're the only ones that get independent nevuah in the camp. But that means, now if you think about what the Midrash just did, it's Eldad and Meidad get nevuah because
They didn't rely on Moshe.
Because they don't care to not get leadership. Right? Meaning Hashem rewards them for their humility, for saying, we don't care to be leaders, so that's what makes them leaders. Yoshua is angry because
they're trying to be leaders.
No! because they're saying Moshe's going to die and give him the honor.
Oh.
And he says, no, I don't want Moshe to leave. I don't care if that's going to be good for my political career. And what does Moshe say to Yoshua? Don't be zealous for me. I don't care if they all come, right? Meaning, literally everybody in the story, according to this midrash, right? The reason that they're as great as they are is because nobody cares about their own honor, right? You have Eldad and Meidad who get nevuah because they want everybody else to get respect and not chas v'shalom be slighted because Eldad and Meidad are getting nevuah, right? You have Moshe who says, I don't care if they're prophesying without me, or in the mind of the midrash, I don't care if they're saying I'm going to die and I won't lead. So that's what they're saying. And Yoshua is getting angry specifically because they're trying to give him power and take it away from Moshe, and he'd rather Moshe keep it. Right? Which means that it's in Pshat, for sure, and in the midrash times 10, the lesson of this story is that an effective leader is the person that really is not in it for themselves, and even, coming back to my story, right? Even if it doesn't exactly feel good, right? Like we know, right? You follow this out to the end. Moshe wasn't happy that he didn't go to Israel, right? Meaning he wanted to go in. It wasn't like, right? Sometimes you feel proud, like when someone you've taught and led, right, rises to their own. But sometimes it's also hard. Sometimes you don't like the path they've taken, or sometimes you feel like they still need you and they don't think they need you anymore, right? And what this story, especially in the mind of the Midrash, is teaching is that, no, to be a real leader is to really be in it for the people you're helping, which is easy when it feels good, right? And you feel like you are accomplishing something, and gets hard when it's not just, it gets hard when it's not just I'm helping them and now I feel proud, but they have been so successful they don't need me anymore. Right? And the Rav has an essay where he writes this, right? That the greatest act that a leader can do is realize when his time has passed and step into the shadows, right? Which is a very lonely thing to do. But if you really are in it for other people, right, and for the right reasons, sometimes you have to do that. Right? Now, I don't think we've quite reached that point, right, where you have nothing to learn from any of the Rebbeim here, and we can all just say, like, we'll step into the shadows and you do whatever you want, right? But, right, and that you've transcended all of us. But I can speak for myself, and I assume for the other Rebbeim as well, that we are, right, we are exceptionally proud of everything you guys have done, and we do hope that one day we'll get to the point where you don't need us at all anymore, right? And we're still happy to talk Torah then, right? As equals, yavo yom. Don't get it let to your head, even if you've gotten smicha yesterday. You think you're already there. You're already there. But we do. But, I think we all would be really proud if we reached the point where we could look at you and say, you really don't need us anymore. You've taken what we've given you and surpassed us. So that's an end of year bracha for you guys. Amen. So, b'hatzlacha. And you're coming back. But the other two, good luck. We'll be in touch.
Amen.